All right, good morning, gentlemen. It's about time I put this video together on foot care, especially after seeing the horrible blisters that Fishon has gotten. All right, so I got some different products here that I'm going to show you guys. Okay, but let's first start with the basics. Why do we get blisters? It's all about friction. Okay, and you can get friction that causes blisters multiple ways. You can get friction from your toes rubbing against each other, right? You can get friction between the sock and your foot rubbing inside the sock. You can get friction from having too narrow of a shoe that rubs on the sides of your feet. And you can get friction on the heel of your shoe from a poor fit. Okay, so the first and the most important thing before you think about any products is you got to have the right shoe. Your shoe has to fit well. It has to have a wide enough toe box that your feet can kind of expand a little bit. And you want just a little bit of clearance between the front of the foot and the tallest toe, which is your second toe. All right. And the reason for that is you don't want so much room that when you run, the front of your shoe is your foot sliding and banging constantly against the front of your shoe. That can cause blisters. And you want just a little bit of space because as you walk, your feet are going to tend to swell. And if your shoe fits too snug when your foot swells, it's going to really push hard against that front of your shoe, and you're going to get blisters that way as well. Okay, so um, there's those reasons. Now, what can exacerbate a blister is moisture. Moisture tends to has a lower coefficient of friction than just your dry skin, because your dry skin has natural oils that help with the reduced friction, the coefficient of friction. But when your feet are really soaking wet, that tends to make the friction higher, right? You can get hot spots, like we said, from a poor fit, and from all that different type of rubbing as well, right? So a lot of the different products that you see here are to mitigate those various types of blisters. And you don't need all these products, but you want to try to come up with your own system depending on where you're getting blisters and why you think the cause of those blisters are, right? So, like I said, first and foremost, good pair of shoes. Second thing that's really important is a good pair of socks. You should not get cotton socks. You want something like this. You want socks that are the best socks, I think, are a wool polyester blend, right? Because it wicks moisture away, keeps your feet drier, right? Whereas cotton socks, you're just going to be sitting there soaking, and you're gonna get that kind of really old person looking skin, and that makes your skin soft enough that it's going to start ripping and getting blisters, right? So you want to have good socks, right? Now, let's talk about the type of friction that's rubbing between your two toes. There's several solutions for that. I like to use a combination of them, but some people just prefer one or the other. One thing you can do, one solution, is to get toe socks, right? So you get these toe socks. They're a little bit of a pain in the ass to put on, but you put these toe socks on, and then that helps reduce the friction between your toes, right? Another option is to put some kind of lube, right? And you want a lube like this. This is it's called salty Britches. A lot of runners use this, or you can use it's called Squirrel nut butter. All right, these are two great products for blister prevention between skin on skin type of blistering. You want these more than you want a petroleum based um, gel like Vaseline. Can't remember exactly the reason why folks say not to use Vaseline and stuff, but I think the fact that it's petroleum based, um, it doesn't allow as much. It can make your feet hotter in a lot of ways, right? So these are the two products that are often recommended in the running and cycling world, right? So if you're getting that kind of friction, if your feet tend to get super soaking wet and you want to keep them dry, another thing people do to reduce the friction base because of a lot of moisture, right, would be to put some kind of dry powder inside your sock. I would put them in the socks that help keep your feet and toes dry. Because like I said, drier feet, less friction. Now you don't want it too dry, because if it's too dry and too much powder in your socks, then you can get blisters as well, because now you're getting more, it's like kind of rougher, very dry skin. You don't even have the oils now on your skin, and so now you're getting friction from hot spots, right? So you just want just enough powder. Oftentimes, people will take the powder and carry it in a little bag like this, right? And then you can take like a Q-tip or just your finger, dip it in the powder, and then just kind of rub it in between your toes before you put your socks on. You don't want to just pour a shitload of this into your sock or shoe, because then it might clump up when your foot gets really wet, right? Two great products people use for that. One is called Z-Sorb, right? You can get all this on Amazon. That's what I have in the bag. The other is called this Two-Tom Foot Shield, and it's kind of like a deodorant stick. You just take this and you rub it in between your toes. This works great for heels, right? On your heel, on the ball of your foot, right? So you might want to use a combination of these different products. Maybe some gel, maybe some ointment between your toes where you get a lot of skin-on-skin friction, and then this on the ball of your foot or on the heel works great to stop that friction rubbing at the back of the shoe, right? So that's two options there, right? And then one of the most tried and true methods, because it's just a physical barrier, is tape, right? So there's two types of tape one can get, right? There's Kinzio tape, right? This tape has a little bit of a stretch to it. And then there is Lyoko tape, which here I can pull that out as well. It just looks like the other one, so on the camera you can't really tell the difference. But Lyoko P tape is very, very stiff. So you don't want to use that on parts of your foot that flex a lot, right? If your foot flexes, like on the ball of your feet, on your toes, right? You want to use Kinzio tape or K tape, okay? And I can send a separate video later on how to tape your toes, because you want to tape it in such a way that you don't want the tape to overlap, because then you can get a rubbing point where it overlaps. So you want to tape it really cleanly, and you don't want to have any like little ridges and bumps when you tape your feet. So there's some methods to taping your feet, and I'll send a separate video on that. That way you can tape your feet properly. I like to tape my big toe, my pinky, and this toe. I don't tape all my toes. That's just from experience. I know I get blisters in here and sometimes on the outside of my toe here. And then because I have a bunion and my feet are like kind of crooked like this bunion here tends to rub on the side of my shoe. And so I'll put another piece of tape here around my bunion, right? And then I'll put one more piece of tape on my heel. I find tape really does the job. You want to put it on maybe half an hour before you start your run at least, because the adhesive on the tape is kind of heat activated, and so it'll stick better once you apply it and leave it for a while versus going out straight for a run. So those are different things you can do. Now, even with all these products, you can still get rubbing of, if your sock to the foot, your foot inside the sock, right? And so what some people do, myself included, is I will double up on socks. I think especially like something like rucking and hiking, I think that's a good idea, because the boots tend to be a little bit heavier, and a little bit of extra cushioning on the socks doesn't hurt. So I will wear these Injiji. This is kind of the most famous brand of toe socks. There's also something out there called Creeper. Again, you want to get something that's kind of a polyester wool blend. I'll wear these toe socks, and then I'll wear another pair of socks over them. GoRuck has some good socks, so you can put over there. I like these ones. These are called Features, and they're a right and a left sock, because the padding is a little bit different depending on which foot. So I'll do my whole approach for me is I go overboard. I wear the toe socks, these socks. Well, first I tape my toes that are problematic, and then between my other toes, I'll lather on a crap load of salty Britches or squirrel nut butter, and then I'll put my toe socks on, and I'll put my regular socks on. And when I'm doing a long distance run, like on an ultra or something, I may, after 10 miles or 15 miles, change my socks out because they'll be wet, reapply the ointments, and then continue running. The tape usually lasts the whole time. You can also get this kind of spray here called benzo spray. I can send a link to this. Some people spray their foot first before they put the tape. It's like a sticky, really sticky spray, and that stickiness helps the tape stick on better. I haven't really tried that, so not sure about that, but a lot of folks recommend that. So anyway, those are the main products. I would recommend that you just try what you think is going to work for you. Um, some of you, like Fishon, already see where he's getting blisters, so you kind of know where you need to apply. If you put tape on the very ball of your foot, you want to cut it curved so that it's not going straight across, because if you go straight across, you're going to come across the bottom of some of your toes. And where there's a crease in your toes, if you put tape there, that tape is eventually going to rub off. So you don't want to put tape wherever there's kind of like a joint movement. You want the tape to be clean down here on the ball of your foot or up around your toes like that. So I think that pretty much covers it. You got the dry solutions over here. You got adding moisturizers, which I find much better. Tape is one of the best all-around things to do. And then, of course, really good socks. Whether you layer up on the socks or you just use one pair of socks or just toe socks, make sure you get a wool polyester blend and not cotton socks. Alrighty. Hope that helps, guys. See you later.